Greetings, Legionists, Loyalists, Traitors, Xenos, and other sort of entities of Warhammer 40k. This is Arndelft. So Luke Schoen requested that I do a battle report on 8th edition, and so we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll just be doing it in segments at the end of each turn, and just kind of proceed from the top. This is our battlefield. These are pieces of terrain we already played once lengthwise from end to end. Now we're going to play from that end to this end, and we're going to see how that goes. So as you can see, we have a lot of scratch-built terrain. So if you thought that I was going to have a lot of really pro-built terrain, about the best pro-built terrain I have is this castle in the middle, and I hope you're impressed with it, because it's amazing, and XLPUDDing works really hard on it. Alright, so first off, we'll go ahead and introduce my army here. So I believe taking a battle brigade is battalion. Bugger, got that wrong. All right.
3 command points.
And as you can see, I am taking the Lord of Skulls. Yeah, I know. I wish I could fit that. I am taking a Grey Knight Terminator squad as a troop choice, and then Valdus will be with them. Of course, not part of the squad because that's not allowed, but he'll be tagging along with them wherever they go, pretending like he's part of the group when he's really not. And then the Scouts as another troop choice. And then my third troop choice was just these 5 tactical Marines over here as a filler. Then these guys here are my Vanguard Marines. And Ungarian here, he's my named unit in my personal lore, but he's going to be running as Kaivon Shrike, which I probably butchered his name, but whatever. And I've got the dual lightning claws on him, so at least that's accurately represented. And then about half of this squad has power weapons and, special weapons. The other half are chain swords and bolt pistols. And so we got a Thunderhammer, Lightning Claw, Power Sword, Plasma Pistol, Chain Sword, Bolt Pistol, Lightning Claw, Bolt Pistol, and then Standard, and then this guy is a Gunslinger. Got 2 pistols there, one Grav, one Plasma, and this guy's the Sergeant with his dual winged pauldrons. That's how I remember who he is. He's got a Melt-A-Bomb equipped to him in this matchup. Don't have that on him right now. I actually do have one on Hark somewhere. This model in my lore, his name's Hark. But yeah, Plasma Pistol, Power Sword. Alright, moving on. I really wanted to test out, because a lot of people were saying Grav weapons have been nerfed. So I took a Grav Devastator squad with 2 spare tactical Marines to help absorb wounds.
Not nerfed!
Yeah. And then 4 of the gravity cannons. And then this guy here's got a, he's the sergeant of the squad. I know I don't have a signum on him to really depict that. But he's got a combi weapon. It is naturally a Grav, combi Grav. And he does have a chain sword equipped, which isn't on him as well, just to fill up the other slots. And then here in this squad, we've got 4 las cannons, which are like cheese now. They're like ultra cheese, from what I've been hearing. With 48 inches of range, only a rending of 3, but still. Yeah, well, there are things with more rending, but whatever. Anyway, so, and then the Sergeant here, he's got a combi flamer and a power sword, and then he actually has his signum there. And then I've got 3 regular tactical Marines to help absorb wounds. Then here in the middle, we've got Cypher himself. And then over here, we've got Gilliman. And then as a flyer, we've got our Storm Raven. I'm still trying to find a way to magnetize the Hurricane Bolters onto the side of it. It does have las cannons. And then on the front here, I believe I had a multi-melta. So that is what is on the Storm Raven. Okay. So, at this point, we'll go ahead and move on to the force that I am facing, Chaos Force, which I'll let XLPUDDing introduce.
Alright guys, so I'm bringing a World Eaters Battalion detachment, which gives me +3 command points. Arndelft has the same thing, so he'll have a total of 9 because he has Gilliman.
Yep.
So I'll only have 6. I brought today a unit of Khorne Berserkers, another unit of Khorne Berserkers, a unit of Cultists. The Khorne Berserkers, one has 6 chain axes, and 2 regular chainswords. The champion has a plasma pistol and a power fist. The other Khorne Berserker squad is 5 chain axes and 3 chainswords, and again, plasma pistol, power fist on the champion. They, let's see, they each have a Wrath of Khorne or Icon of Khorne or whatever it's called in this edition that lets them reroll their failed charges. This squad is going to have my Warlord in it. It's going to be Karn, the Betrayer, and they're going to be running around in a Rhino, which has a Combi Flamer and a Havoc Launcher. So that's my 3 troop choices. These guys are just 18 cultists with auto guns, 2 heavy stubbers, and the champion has a shotgun. For Elite, I brought 2 Hellbrutes, one with a twin las cannon and a missile launcher. This one has just your standard Hellbrute fist with a heavy flamer. Or no, I couldn't afford the heavy flamer, so just a fist and your Multa Melta. And over here, we have a 5-man Terminator squad. The champion has a Combi Melta with a Power Maul, which is actually not worthless now. We have one right here. This guy, he has a Combi Flamer with a Power Axe. This guy here has a Power Fist with a regular Combi Bolter. Then we have the Chain Fist with a Combi Melta and a Power Axe with a Reaper Autocannon. And then I brought a 5-man squad of Possessed because supposedly they sucked last edition unless you brought them in a special formation. So we're going to see what they have. They just have the Mutilated Claws, or however they're called now. It's like AP 2 damage or something. We have Obliterators, which everyone's heard about in Ben's showcase models. It's one of them's been painted, but these used to be just Joe Smo, scumbag loyalist Marines. Now they're mutated Obliterators. They got nerfed a little, in my opinion. They now just have flesh metal guns or something, which is a little different. 24 inches of range, assault 2, they can deep strike. You roll 3 times D3 plus strength, AP, and damage. They did okay last time, besides getting shredded by Mr. Gilliman. Yeah.
Papa Smurf just came in and wiped them off the map with the Emperor's Sword.
Then I've got another heavy support, which is going to be the Forge Fiend. It has the 2 Hades autocannons and the Demon Jaws. And then for HQ choices, I brought a Dark Apostle here, which is a converted model from the
Age of Sigmar
starter set in Age of Sigmar. I think it's the Corn Lord or something. He's just equipped with a Power Maul, and I couldn't afford the Plasma Pistol on him, so he has a Bolt Pistol. I have a Sorcerer of Slaanesh on a Steed of Slaanesh in a World Eater's army, because there's no rules against it. He has just your Force Sword and a Plasma Pistol. Then I have Karn the Betrayer with his Gorechild and his Plasma Pistol, which is a little better than a standard. So that is it. It's a World Eater's Battalion Detachment facing on against the Loyalists. Right? Anything else you want to mention?
No, that is it. Well,
the mission.
Yeah, the mission.
So the mission that we're going to be playing today is Only War. It's like the beginner mission that you get. And we were told to, set up. We went through all the rules like we did last time. We set up this game, exactly the terrain, how it's set up. And we were told to place 4 mission objectives. So we did so. Number 1 is placed over here in this corner, right behind
that wall.
So that's mission objective 1. 2, I think Ben placed that one.
Yeah, I placed 1.
I placed one here in the middle since I was a assault army going long ways.
In the center courtyard.
And then he placed the 3rd objective right here by this tower, which is here relative to the map. And then I placed the last one here in this fortification. And so what happens is you have to set these objectives because you roll a D3 in this mission, and you get to pick whichever, well, no, you don't pick, but you get one of 3. The one that we rolled, which we'll be playing again because we played it in our first mission, was Slay and Secure, which if you kill the Warlord, he's worth D3 victory points. And then if you control an objective, each objective is worth 2 victory points. We're also playing with Linebreaker, First Blood, and Slay the Warlord. So Slay the Warlord is going to be worth 1 plus D3. So,
and the biggest alteration that we're doing house rules wise is normally this game is supposed to only last till turn 5, but we're doing variable game length.
yep, we're gonna do the variable game length because turn 5. I mean, last game ended on turn 5, but and I was, well, I lost. But yeah, we're gonna see if we can go on to turn 6 or 7 just to make it a closer game maybe, because turn 5, you know, whatever. We just wanted to play like a traditional game because all the other objectives in the book have variable game length that I've seen. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Who was your warlord?
Oh yeah, my warlord is Gilliman. That's the reason why I get the extra 3 points.
Oh yeah, so Gilliman's gonna be his warlord. Again, he has 9 command points. My warlord is Karn, the Betrayer. He doesn't give anything bonus to my command points. I will have 6. And we're going to do alternating deployment now, and we'll probably show you the map before we take the first turn after everyone's deployed.
Yep.
All right, see you guys soon. All right, everybody, we're back. So we've got the board. Let me go just do a quick view of the whole thing on one side of the board. All right. Do a quick overview of this side of the board. Alrighty then. So, in this mission, and from what I can tell, most missions, again, this is just us playing the first mission, the starter, you're getting into the game. I think it's an open play mission, actually. But it works really for anything. It's really a mission that you can play all sorts of stuff with. What does it matter? So, like I said, all war. So we alternated deployment. I went first because last time Ben or Arendelle, or however you guys call him in this channel, and I know that he comments me, James, XLPUDDing, whatever. So first he deployed first last time because whoever picks how the table is cut in half. See, last time he got to pick and he cut the table in half this way. So he got to deploy first or what have you. This time I chose to cut the table this way, and I got to deploy first. So, my first deployment was my Forge Fiend, right here.
One thing to notate really first, it's not so much as that he got to split the table and then he gets to go first. I got to pick my side of the table,
Correct.
Which is why then he gets to go first and deploying first.
So yeah, so whoever splits the table, the opposite player gets to pick which side they want to benefit from. So yeah, it was a benefit for me to cut the table in half this way, because obviously this distance from Zerkers to them or whatever is a lot closer than this distance. So he got to pick that side of the table because he gets to do all sorts of stuff. We're going to cover that after deployment. So first drop, I dropped this Forge Fiend here. Second drop was his first drop. He deployed his scouts here.
And I split them into combat squads because in the last game, I didn't split them into combat squads. I had them all just holding that objective, and he never even came on that side of the map. My scouts rarely even got a chance to fire, and scouts are overpowered in 8th. So it was a serious, kick in the pants that made me realize, combat squads mean something.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people in the competitive scene and battle reports and everything, they combated their squads all the time. Arendelle here hardly ever did it. He didn't see a real bonus in 7th edition. Each has their own tactic, but yes, the scouts had a special rule where, because you see how everyone else is pretty back, we did 12 inches deployment because I think the rule says the deployment was on your entire half, but we went with the traditional 12-inch deployment zone, Dawn of War. They have a concealed deployment or some special rule. Essentially, it's what used to be scout
or
infiltrate.
Infiltrate.
Yep. So he combated squatted him. He put the first half. That one has the sergeant in it, so that's going to have the higher leadership. He put them there. Then I went, and I believe I placed the cultists right here. And then he deployed. And I think he put these squads here.
The tactical squad,
Yep.
5 Marines.
Yep, he put the tactical squad there. And then I put Zerkers here. And then you put... did you put your second half?
Actually, my next ones were all put into deep strike.
Oh, that's right. So he deep striked the paladins. And then I deep striked my Oblitz first, and then he counteracted by deep striking the hero dude.
Voldus.
Oh yeah, Voldus. I deep striked the Terminators. Then he deep striked the Vanguard. And then I put down the Land Raider.
You
Cool
mean
thing.
the Rhino?
Or yeah, Rhino. I wish it was Land Raider. I put down this. The cool thing about this, and tactic-wise, is this can carry 10 troops. This is one of my models, plus a unit of 9, plus Karn. So that took away 3, making my deployment go way quicker. So those guys, I said, hey, these guys are going to go on the Rhino, and I placed the Rhino here. And then I don't know I think it was a Devastator or Gilliman.
The next one that I did, I put Shrike into...
Oh, that's right. So he put Shrike into reserve, and I was like, well, crap, I don't have any more to put into Deep Strike or reserve or Telebatorum, or there's a billion different special rules they use now. So then I went ahead and I placed the Possessed here.
Alright, at that point, I placed Cypher here.
Yep, he placed Cypher there. And then I put my Chaplain dude right here.
And then next up, I had Gilliman.
Yep. So he put Gilliman there, if you didn't hear. And I put my Sorcerer right here.
And at some point, I don't know if we covered when I put these guys in.
Yeah, since he split them, that was another deployment. I then just put my last Hellbrutes down, and my deployment ended, essentially.
Yeah. So from that point on, I just put down my Devastators in front of my characters. They've got a couple tacticals to help them absorb wounds. And then I started placing the Devastators up here as well.
Right.
And then my Storm Raven over there, and that was my deployment.
Yeah, so recap, on my side of the board, we got a Forge Fiend in cover, my Rhino with Karn and a squad of Karn Berserkers, 9 of them, my Hellbrute, Berserkers, with the Dark Apostle and the Sorcerer, the Cultist in cover, my Hellbrute, and the Possessed. Now, cover's changed a ton in this edition. So now these guys are going to gain +1 to their armor save, not just a flat cover save. Like before, we played Battlements as a 3+. I know most people played them as like a 4+ cover save or whatever, but here we played it as 3+. These guys would have a 3+ cover save if we were playing 7th. But right now, they're going to have a 5+ cover or armor save because they're in cover. Now, this cool thing about this guy being in cover, he's still a vehicle, but the rules don't say that it only impacts infantry. So, he's going to have a 2+ armor save sitting up there in cover. And then, these guys are going to Rhino, and then we got to go to his side. So, he stuck a tactical 5-man regular bolter, nothing generic special people right there in cover.
And just to notate, the guy in orange, his name lore-wise is Mute. He's the sergeant of that 5-man squad.
Oh, there he is. One of my first paint jobs.
Yep.
And then he stuck those guys, those little Devastators, those las cannon Devastators in cover. So same rule applies there. They're going to have +1 to their armor save. Space Marines have a 2+ in cover. Those guys aren't going to have bonus from any cover right here. They're not in cover. And, yeah. And then we've got these who will bonus from the cover.
Oh, they'll bonus all of... Yeah.
The Scouts have a Camo Cloak ability. They had Camo Cloak before, but it worked way differently. It just added to the cover save. But now, it does kind of the same thing. Instead of getting a +1 for being in cover here, they're going to get a 2+ for being in cover there. So those Scouts are also going to have a 2+ armor save. Same with them. Same rules apply as the other squad. And then he's got his flyer here. Now, flyers have changed a ton in this edition. They still have a minimum and maximum movement. But in this case, they don't have, like... They're not so hard to hit where you need 6s. They have a hard to hit ability where I'm going to have to -1 for my hit roll to hit him. He still has to stay on the board. If that flyer in the basic rules flies off the board, it is dead.
Boom.
Like, it just dies. So he has to watch where he moves, but he can pivot 90 degrees before moving the vehicle, and then move it. And he can do, and if he advances, it's like a super fast. It can move like, its maximum movement's like 40 + 20, so like 60 inches or something. It's insane how far flyers can move now. So, and some flyers don't. They just have a basic move stat, essentially representing hover, which this certain vehicle does have a hover mode. He can at any time drop it into hover, which it loses like hard to hit and supersonic and blah, blah, blah. But then he can move it wherever he wants. And it doesn't have to fly off the board. Also, something about vehicles. Firing arcs are now gone. So this dude right here can fire all these hurricane bolters on the sides to whoever he wants. And it doesn't matter about the firing arc. Their reasoning is because this flyer is like pivoting and pivoting and pivoting and pivoting to get the correct firing spot. So granted, and this goes for the same for my Rhino. He can fire behind him. Same with the Hellbrutes, all vehicles, no firing arcs, just like how infantry worked in last edition. So if you're like, hey guys, that heavy bolter can't see your squad, yeah, no, it can. Still iffy on the whole concept. I know that if you play one of the advanced rules, flyers now have flying arcs in like the dogfight phase, but we're not playing that right now. We're playing the default, so this is how it's going to go. Like I said, this is our deployment, and we'll be back on after turn 1.
Toodles.
Bye. Hello guys, this is XLPUDDing, and this is my turn 1. This is going to be the results after we've played a full turn for my turn 1. Arendolf has not taken his first turn yet, but we wanted to do this to where you get to see the results after every single turn. So I'm going to start on this side of the board. I'm going to work that way. I'm going to color each phase. This guy, he just sat there. Oh, do you want to say anything?
No, not particularly.
Okay. This guy just sat there until the shooting phase. All these guys pretty much moved up. No one advanced here. These guys just shot. The Hellbrute moved over to get a better shot at some stuff. And they, the possessed, advanced into the trees, which is going to provide them a cover. And the shooting phase, or no, psychic phase, yeah. My psychic phase, I attempted to cast Warp Speed because I picked Warp Speed and Prescience as my powers on my sorcerer. Warp Speed makes it so I can choose a unit within, I think, 12 inches of him. And on a 6, they get to move as if it were the movement phase. So if I don't advance with the person, they can charge. So I was hoping to move a little bit closer and maybe get within a charge range on those guys over there. But it didn't happen. And then I chose to cast Smite. And they happened to be within 18 inches of my Psyker. I rolled a 5, so they took D3. I rolled a 1, so one scout was just removed. Mortal wound. Moving on to the shooting phase, starting over here. I shot into his flyer, and I managed to get 1 wound in out of 8 shots, which he didn't save, so his flyer took a damage of 2, which brought it down to 12 wounds. Oh, my Rhino, where my Warlord is. It advanced up to there. Yep. No one shot at that squad of scouts. Like I said, for this scouts, my cultists shot 8 autoguns, because that's all that had range, single shot, into them. No one died. The stubbers, though, in this squad, because this is something in the new edition, you can declare which guns are firing where. So I declared the 2 heavy stubbers right here. We're going to fire into his Devastator squad over there.
And one thing to notate, see how the stubbers are up front. Normally, you wouldn't want to do that because then they could easily be killed. But here now, you can pick which die.
Yep, so if he kills, it's not the direction of the firing coming in here. I get to just pluck off these little guys from the back. So they fired into the Devastator squad. I think they picked off 1. Yep, so there you go. These guys didn't fire. My Apostle did not fire. The Zerkers didn't do anything.
You missed one thing in the movement phase.
Oh, that's right. In the movement phase, I deep strike my Oblitz 9 inches away from those guys. So they were right there at the end. Any teleportation deep strike ability has to happen at the end of your turn, and you must be within, further away than 9 inches. So it must be further than 9 inches, so it's like 9 and like a quarter you can be away. But yeah, so the Oblitz deep strike there, they did some work. But yeah, and then also, this Hellbrute fired into also his Grav Devastator squad. Now, you see how many are left there? Do you remember how many were there in the beginning?
My Devastators got devastated.
Yep, I devastated the Devastators. He's got 1 Grav cannon left, and a sergeant left for the higher leadership. So in total, and then obviously these guys sat there. He shot into those, and then my obliterators shot into that last cannon squad, killing 2. Yep, killing 2. So that's what happened in my shooting phase. I'm not close enough to do any charges anywhere, so I didn't charge with anybody. In the morale phase, he actually passed. Didn't really need to worry about morale in much places other than the middle one. He only lost 1 here. Remember, if you have your sergeant with a leadership of 8, here's what happens. So if you lose 1 guy, roll a die. He rolls. We got a 6 here. So guess what? He lost 1 out of this squad. So 6 plus 1 is 7. Since he has a sergeant here, or you have to equal it, so not really. It wouldn't matter in the case of Space Marines because they have leadership of 8. But either way, the sergeant has a leadership of 8, so he can never meet that with only losing 1 guy.
But just to cover, my squad over here lost 5 guys.
Yeah, lost 5 guys.
So with that in mind, it was important to keep my sergeant alive so I didn't lose another. But I rolled a 4. I was going to lose another one. But I did no fear, got to reroll it, got a 1, and nobody died or ran off.
Yep, that's correct. So the Space Marines still have, and they shall know no fear. And that's a reroll in your morale check. He rolled a 4. He would have lost an additional guy. So he would have had to pick either the sergeant or the grav cannon. So one of those 2 lucky chaps. But they knew no fear, so they stood. So one key note, and something that I'm still getting used to, is I wanted to fire this Hellbrute into Gilliman. Because I knew the rules. I knew that I can't normally hit heroes, right? But I spaced that Gilliman only has 9 wounds. And that is, you've all met Penny. So Gilliman only has 9 wounds. I thought I could hit him because he had 10, but that wasn't the case. So he didn't get shot with a Melta. I rolled a 3. The Melta missed. Didn't really do anything. But if he had been 10 wounds, or if I happened to have obliterated the rest of those, these 2 guys right here, I would have been able to target those guys freely. And a Melta could have done D6 damage, as well as I'm sure we'll see a lot from his last cannons if I can't kill them. So that's that case. So something else I didn't do is I didn't do anything with my Rhino. Those guys are still there. And my Terminators remained in Deep Strike. I could have chose to bring them on, but I said to leave them on to see and wait what happens in the battlefield. So starting on Ben's turn 1, he's going to have these guys that he can bring in if he wants. He does not have to. They have to be on the table by turn 3, or they're eliminated. So he still has 2 whole turns, 3 whole turns that he can bring them on. He's got to deal with whatever's going on in that corner, or not in that corner, but in this area of the battlefield, because he's got 2 of his key characters, plus his Warlord there. He's got to deal with my Obliterators, and my Rhino is right behind this castle with a bunch of mean people inside. So, that's turn 1. What did you think?
I think it was really stupid of me to be placing my Devastators out there. I didn't think you were going to be able to close so quickly with them and pour so much fire into them, and not to mention losing 1 guy to a stubber right off the bat was like, oh, this is not going to go well. And then you just started pouring fire into the Devastators, and they're my only line of protection really on my Warlord and Cypher. So as of right now, I'm really eyeing my reinforcements because
He's going to need them.
I'm going to need them. And so in my head, I'm just tactically plotting where I'm going to put them, because at this point, without them, I'm going to lose my Warlord likely in a jiffy, or at the very least, Cypher.
Yeah, so, I mean, my goal, and the reason why the Devastators got hit so hard, actually, is a good point to cover before we cut to his turn. So, I had options to, shoot. I had these guys, scouts in range. I had both of those squads in range. And then I had these guys in range, right? Well, I want to get at both his characters who are behind them. Bonus between those Devastators is they were not behind cover. If I target those guys, they got a 2-up save. If I target these guys, they got a 2-up save. So, playing with the rules of dice and the laws of averages, it's harder to get a 3 than it is to get a 2. So, I poured everything into the Devastator squad that I could, that was in range, and it worked out for me. So, we'll see how this game looks after Aaron Delph's turn 1, and we'll get back to you guys. Okay, see ya.
Toodles. Hey everybody, this is right after my first turn. Okay, so not exactly a whole lot happened. I mean, to cover the movement phase, Storm Raven moved up, Scouts didn't move, I completely forgot to actually move Gilliman and Cypher. So that's just straight up on me. And Laz Cannon team didn't move, but I moved my Tactical Marines in to go ahead and engage his Obliterators in close combat, because guess what? They don't have Power Fists anymore! So they moved over there, and then at the end of the phase, I deep striked in my Raven Guard, Vanguard Squad, and my Terminators with Voldus. So Shrike is here, and Voldus is over there. So, yeah. And then move Psychic phase. I managed to smite like one guy out of the Possessed squad. Yep. So he was dead. Now he's over there having a party. And then I managed to get Hammer Hand off. Not that it did me any good whatsoever. Mind you, it'll last until my next Psychic phase, so if he does manage to charge me, at least they'll be wounding on a more powerful roll. But regardless, in shooting phase, I decided that I wanted to be able to charge those Berserkers. So I directed all of my shooting at the Possessed from the Grey Knights and from Gilliman. And ironically, the nerfed Grav Gun also managed to slash down 2 of the Possessed, despite the fact that they were in trees and that added +1 to their armor save. So I am really loving Grav Cannons and guns and whatnot. I don't know why people say they're nerfed. In my opinion, they're so much better. So, and then over here, my Las Cannon team fired on the Brute and did 6 damage to it. I mean, 4 Las Cannons, 6 damage. I guess that makes sense. Even though they even got to reroll once. Anyway, and then my pistols over here finished it off, blowing it to Kingdom Come. My first charge failed. It was a 5 with Shrike. In the assault phase, I re-rolled it. And got double 1s on the next roll. So using the command die on that would have been pointless. Moving on, over here on Voldus' squad of Terminators, on my first roll, I got 1s. Double 1s. I mean, what the frag? The only reason why that roll over there likely managed to get in for my tacticals engaging the Obliterators was because double 1s would have gotten me in. Should have rolled that one first, right? Anyways, the one good piece of good news, besides blowing up that Brute and whittling down the Possessed squad, was I fired a bunch of Hurricane Bolters at
Stormstrike missiles?
The Rhino, and one of my Stormstrike missiles also managed to, Stormstrike missiles managed to wound the Rhino. And then my Scout squad got off 1 mortal wound on that Rhino, knocking it down to 5, which means Karn and his Berserkers are now on a Rhino that only moves 6 inches. So, next turn, XLPUDDing has to either choose to only move 6 inches and not be able to disembark, or get his squad out of there and go charging where I can then shoot them directly and have the tank move independently. So those are his options right now. So that's probably my best piece of good news to celebrate at this moment, besides also having his Obliterators tied down. Mind you, he can fall back, but he'll forfeit shooting and other crap. So as long as I can keep those Obliterators tied down, that tactical squad is paying for itself. So, in any case, that is essentially my turn. Do you have anything to add, Pudding?
I was just happy you didn't get your charges off.
Yeah, screw you too. Alright, well, we are good. So, we will go ahead and talk to you again after XLPUDDing's second turn.
Yep, see you guys soon.
Toodles.
Hello everybody, this is XLPUDDing. This is the bottom of my turn 2, right before Aaron Delph takes his turn 2. So let's go ahead and explain what happened in this turn. So in the movement phase, my guy didn't move, my Forge Fiend, he just sat there.
Like a freaking pickle.
The Cultist moved around to get better shots at the Vanguard squad that he dropped in. The Dark Apostle moved from over there. And my Sorcerer, when he was alive, moved into the forest.
Emphasis on was.
The Hellbrute didn't move. The Possessed moved up to there. And my Berserkers charged his Terminator squad. The Obliterators fell back. And the Rhino moved up to where it is. From over here. It was right there. And I moved it to there. In the shooting phase, starting here again, my Forge Fiend shot into his squad over here of Vanguard, killing 2, I believe.
Yeah.
And then my Cultist went up next. Well, actually, my Cultist shot first.
Actually, your stupid Forge Fiend killed 3.
Okay, well, my Cultist shot first, and that was important to me because I knew that if people died in his Vanguard squad, he'd be removing the chainswords first. So I wanted to shoot with the Cultist to remove his buffer of the chainswords and bolt pistols. And after that happened, because they killed like 1 or 2, and then I shot into them with the more strong gun, into them, forcing him to remove whatever was left out of his chainswords and bolt pistols, and hopefully killing some power weapons, which I didn't kill any. But now, he's all alone, no one around him, and then he has the rest of them down here with all his power weapons. The Hellbrute shot into the Paladin squad. The Berserkers also shot all their pistols into the Paladin squad. And the reason why my Sorcerer is no longer alive is because I decided to supercharge my Plasma. Yes, most people say it's a bad idea, but I figured why not? It can kill a whole nother Paladin. Or Terminator, they can be worked as Paladins or Terminators, but it could kill a whole model of a Terminator, supercharging it. And I didn't think I'd roll a 1. I could have re-rolled it. In fact, I did use a command re-roll to re-roll the 1, and I rolled a 1 on the re-roll. So my Sorcerer did get removed.
Boom.
With 2 models left. But
that was after he perilled.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. So he, in the Psychic phase, which I skipped, he was able to cast. He tried to cast Prescience, which adds 1 to hit roll for a squad. And I tried to cast on these Cultists so they're hitting on 3s instead of 4s to get more hits in and hopefully more wounds on the Vanguard. But he countered it with his Grey Knights.
Using a command point.
Right. And then I rolled for Smite after that, and I got double 6s, which is Perils of the Warp. The power still went off because it was impossible for my guy to die. He had 4 wounds. D3 damage cannot slay him. So you roll a D3. I managed to get a 2. Well, I rolled a 4, which is 2 mortal wounds. Took him down to 2, and I managed to kill 1 Terminator because I rolled a 2 on the D6. So, whatever. But then he shot, and his pistol blew him up, and there you go. And then, like I said, they fell back, so the Obliterators didn't do anything. So then we move into the Assault phase after I mentioned that my Rhino did smoke. I didn't shoot anything with it. It launched as smoke launchers. You can do that once per game, and it's going to minus any to hits that happen to the Rhino. So in the Assault phase, I tried to charge his Terminators with my 1 Possessed, hoping that it could survive the Overwatch and then make its charge. He did not kill it in his Overwatch, but it did not make the 4-inch charge that he needed to do. So, I even used one of my command rerolls to reroll one of those dice.
We've been having a competition about who's been getting the cruddier rolls this game, and while I think mass-wise, I've been getting more cruddier rolls, when it comes to sheer critical rolls,
I fell.
His Sorcerer topped me.
Yep. So, he didn't get into combat, because I was hoping to get my Possessed in with his Paladins before the Paladins could Overwatch and hamper any attacks that happened to my Berserkers. The Berserkers managed to get in, obviously. I chose to fight, well, I charged, so I got to fight first. And we almost eliminated the entire squad. So I had 3 people, including my champion with Chain Fist, throw attacks, or Chain Power Fist, throw all their attacks into Voldus. We caused 1 wound.
Yeah, I managed to...
Yep.
Okay, so he actually did at first cause 2 wounds, but
right.
I used a command die to reroll one of the unsaved wounds because those Power Fists cost D3 wounds, which had the potential to kill Voldus.
Right.
So I just didn't want that to happen.
So he used his command points to reroll 1, so I managed to get 1 hit in. It only did 1 damage, so Voldus is now wounded. And my Berserkers cleaned up a lot of his Terminators. He's only got the 1 left. I think that's the Judicator.
Just to care.
just to care, remaining. And after that, I had to do a morale check, but I used my 2 remaining command points to automatically pass the morale on those berserkers. Just to make sure, like, maybe if they don't die, I can throw more attacks in, or, you know, his Terminators now won't be able to do anything. They'll have to fall back if he doesn't want to fight my guys. So, yeah. And, oh, and to be clear, in the assault phase, I declared a charge on both the Terminator squad and Voldus. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't have been able to put any attacks on Voldus.
So it's important that you declare that.
So,
it's important that you declare that for issuing attacks, but it also allows that whoever else you're declaring the charge on to overwatch you, but in this case it was just a single character with just another Storm Bolter, so it was heavy pro, no con.
Right, so yeah, unlike what we're used to in 7th, with the unit being combined with the characters and him being able to overwatch with all of those characters, in this case, I charged both, so he got to overwatch with both. If I only charged one, he could only overwatch with one. And because the new rules say you can overwatch multiple times, in the old edition, he would have wasted his overwatch on my possessed, and I would have been free to just charge in without fear of getting overwatched. But in this edition, since my guy didn't make it into combat, he can still overwatch me. He did, and he might have killed one. I think he killed one chainsword. So that was my turn. All in all, I think it was okay. I still got a full squad of cultists here. My brute's undamaged. My Dark Apostle is perfectly fine. No damage on him either. I've got my Possessed, who's only down to the Sergeant or the champion in that squad. The Mutilators, or Obliterators, have no wounds on them. They're perfectly fine. The Zerkers lost a lot. As you can see over here, there's my dead pile. So I got my Zerkers, which was 5. Hellbrute, the Possessed, the Poor Sorcerer, 1 Cultist, and the Rhino's still at 5 wounds, and this guy has no wounds on him. He has had 1 wound, but has an ability to let him regen a wound per turn at the beginning of my turn. So currently he's fresh as can be. That was my turn 2, so we'll be back with Arendel's turn 2 once that's completed. So see you guys later.
Doodles. Alright everybody, from the bottom of turn 2, it's Arendelt here, and yeah, as you can see there's been just a few changes. Okay, so in movement, my Storm Raven pivoted 90 degrees and went 20 inches, which was its minimum, and then my Vanguard, I moved over to here, running away, because they were getting slaughtered by that thing, which it's probably still going to shoot at them, to be honest, but at least now they're in cover, so they'll get a +1 to their armor save, so it won't quite be so bad. And then over here, my guys were locked down for pretty much all of the assault phase, so they didn't move. Gilliman and Cypher didn't really move either. I moved my Sergeant a couple of inches out, and I moved my Devastator team over, and my Tactical team continued chasing the Obliterators. Right, in the Psychic phase, I wiped out everybody. And I think, no, I don't believe is there consolidation when...
The fight phase didn't happen.
So there was no consolidation. In 7th edition, would there have been a consolidation?
Technically, yeah, but you wouldn't have been able to cast your psychic powers in combat.
True. Okay, so pros and cons. Alright, so they got freed up at that point, but they couldn't move or consolidate. Alright, so then moving into the shooting phase, my Storm Raven pumped out pretty much all its multi-melta, its las cannons, and its storm strikes at this thing. And its invuln save absorbed
all of it.
Everything. It just laughed it off. This thing will not die. And guess what? My Devastator squad is all the way over there. Oh, and about a certain something, somebody kind of forgot to deploy something at their movement phase last turn.
Yep, so they get to come on my turn.
Yep, his Terminators, he forgot to deploy them, so they're going to be coming on now 9 inches away from something. So we'll see what that is. He kind of has a few different options, but we'll see what happens then. Now in the shooting phase, my hurricane bolters on this thing did make a difference. They hit here and started wiping out about 6 of these. 1 plasma pistol fired from this squad at a dude who was right in the corner, and somehow a dude back here died, and slaughtered him. So it ended up losing 7, but because of this doofus right here, during the morale phase, he laughed that off.
Yep, leadership. He takes anyone within, I think, 6 inches of him up to a leadership of 9. So cultists need that, because with their champion, they have 6 leadership.
Yeah, so they even with a 2, with the 2 that you rolled on them,
They would have lost 2 more.
they would have lost 2 more. So that's kind of a really big deal that the Dark Apostle
3
was
more.
there.
Because 6 died, so that 6 automatically matches my leadership.
Dang. All right. My gravity squad in the shooting phase did absolutely nothing. They fired at the Rhino and totally failed to do anything to it. My scout squad up here fired 2 shots at the obliterators because only 2 of them were in the 36 inches of range. And then 2 shots at the cultists. They failed on all accounts. No. Oh, scratch that. The 2 that weren't in range to fire at the obliterators fired at the Dark Apostle, and one of them caused a mortal wound.
And then you saved the other.
Yeah. And over here, I had my scout squad fire on the Rhino, and one of them caused a mortal wound on it, and he saved the other. So, slowly whittling down that Rhino, but it didn't do any substantial damage. The thing's still in its middle tier, so it's still going to be moving 6 inches. So, yeah, still dealing with that. Okay. And I believe we've covered just about everything, except over here, he actually had an advantage. He was smart to go ahead and have his guys fall back, because during Overwatch, when I charged them again to make sure that they couldn't keep firing at my Devastator squad, he did manage to pick off 2 of them. It wasn't enough to really make me do a morale check, but it was irritating. And once again, in Melee, we did squat to each other. Nothing happens. So, yeah, there was that. Okay, moving back over here. I think we've covered just about everything. I did actually kill off his last possessed. I don't remember what... Oh, Storm Bolters.
Yep.
Because I had them freed up during the Psychic phase, they then fired on the possessed and killed him. So they actually, there was an advantage to them being able to free themselves up during the Psychic phase. That possessed is dead and gone, not going to be bothering anybody anymore. Alright. And I forgot to advance these guys, so I could have gotten them further in, but I forgot to, so that could have been possibly up another 6 inches, would have helped get them out of range of that will not die sucker. But in any case, that is pretty much everything. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think this game's a lot more even than the last game, in my opinion. So, so far so good.
Oh, and one final note. My Devastators, I moved them there so they would get a shot on his now non-existent Brute. So, yeah.
And altogether, my Possessed did nothing this game. My Hellbrute did nothing this game. He got a couple shots off. I think he killed like a Terminator. So he did something, but not nowhere near as much as I wanted him to do. But yeah, when you have 4 last cannon shooting, you get to do D6 wounds each.
Yeah, I killed that Brute and then some.
So,
all right. Well, everybody, we'll go ahead and see you at the end of the next turn. All right. Toodles.
Bye. Hi guys, it's XLPUDDing. This was the 3rd turn for me, and I just got done with it. So these guys, for movement, didn't move. My Apostle moved from down there to up here. And I don't know if we explained it, but the reason why we said he could do that is how we've been playing these terrains. Is if it's a smaller terrain like this, it's 3 inches up. And then if it's a bigger terrain like that thing right there, it's 6 up. So he was able to move up 3, move over 3, and he advanced. And then I finagled my cultists to kind of surround him so that he can't be targeted by anybody. Even if this thing skyrockets over here, he'll be protected. Other than that, my Oblits did not move this turn. They decided to stay into close combat because I didn't want them getting shot by these guys. his Devastator squad with las cannons. And other than that, I did not move my Rhino. Instead, I disengaged. Let me get through this. I disengaged or disembarked my Berserkers. Had them move up. So originally the Rhino was here first. They moved out their disembarkment of 3 inches. They moved their 6 inches for a total of 9 inches. And then later they charged. So then my Rhino moved up as well. And come to think of it, I should have had my Rhino charge. But I forgot. Because if I had tried my Rhino charge Gilliman, then Gilliman would have been caught up in combat and not been able to do anything. But I forgot to do that, so there you go. So that was my movement phase, besides bringing my Terminators, which I did forget last turn here. And that was 9 inches away from the guys he had here. So there we go. That was my movement phase. In the shooting phase, we'll start over here. He had some Devastator squads here, so I had to kill them in order to target Cypher, Gilliman, Valdis, and what have you. So I used both the Rhino with its Flamer, its Bolter, and its Havoc Launcher to try to kill them. They didn't succeed. It killed like one guy and left one. So the Berserkers shot their bolt pistols into that squad and plasma pistols and killed the last guy remaining. Then I used Karn to shoot into Valdis, which removed 2 wounds from him, taking him down to 2 wounds. And yeah, that left them open. I could now shoot at Cypher. And how we're reading the rules is if any other model is in front of a character, you have to target that model instead of that character. So because Cypher was here, right next to Gilliman, we read it to where I would have to kill Cypher before I could target Gilliman, because that is a model in the way. He's not the closest character to me. So that is why I shot everything here from these guys into Cypher, managed to kill him. So then in my assault phase, over here too, my Forge Fiend shot into these guys, his Vanguard squad, and they managed to remove 1 of them. And then those cultists fired into the Vanguard squad and killed another. So he had 5 left with his Commander Shrike. And now he has 3 left with Commander Shrike. Nothing hit that thing, the Storm Raven, yet. And, yeah. So that was my shooting phase. My assault phase, I assaulted everything into the Grey Knights. My reasoning, because I could have charged into Gilliman and gotten the fight off. And the reason why I didn't is because Smite is scary. Smite can just remove models off of the board. And I wanted to remove his psychic capability. So I charged everything into the Grey Knights. And I was able to eliminate them. Actually, first I charged the Berserkers in. And then I charged Karn in. And Karn put all 6 of his attacks into Valdis. Valdis failed. And did end up dying. And then what Arendelf did is he spent 2 command points to interrupt my charges and let his 1 remaining Grey Knight fight. And he put all 3 of his attacks into Karn. Karn failed 1, so that's why he has a wound now. He's now at 4 wounds. He starts out at 5. And yeah, that's all he did. I activated my Berserkers. They ended up killing the last remaining Justicar and his Grey Knight Terminator squad, and then I consolidated. And the cool thing about my consolidation, in my opinion, is I consolidated to where he could not charge Karn with Gilliman. Like, I don't care that, whatever, like, he can charge my Berserkers, and hopefully they live. Like, that was, my whole goal was just to see if, leave it up to the dice rolls instead of mortal wounds. Because he's going to be charging these guys up, I'm sure. Get him here, and then charge my Berserkers, and who knows how that'll go. He doesn't have a whole lot of attacks left, so that's a good thing. So I'm not too worried about that. He might be able to get into Karn, but he has to get past all those guys first. So he'll probably bring the Storm Talon up, shoot into them, shoot these guys into them, and yeah, if I was actually smart and thought about it, I would have moved these guys over to here, falling back, making it so these guys had to decide if they wanted to shoot the Obliterators, if they wanted to shoot my Terminators, or if they wanted to shoot my Berserkers, and limiting his options, because, I need to keep my guys alive. At this point, I don't know if I can keep up with his shooting army, but I'm sure as heck going to try to do it. So that was my turn. I consolidated to make it so Gilliman could not get past into my guy. And yeah, in regards to the victory points on who controls them, at the beginning of turn 3, right before Aaron Delph takes his first turn, we have this one not being controlled by anybody. I do believe, because that is not within 3 inches for Gilliman. I might control it without Berserker. This one, objective number 2, is being controlled by his Vanguard. I believe that's 3 inches. Objective number 3, right here, he's not being controlled by anybody because technically his guys aren't down there controlling it. So that's open game. And then last but not least, we have my Forge Fiend, which is controlling objective number 4. At the end of the game, each one of these objectives is worth 2 victory points. And then we have First Blood, Line Breaker, everything like that. So, yeah, I think Ben got First Blood this game. So he has that. Currently, if the game were to end, I would have Line Breaker, so that's even. So we're just waiting on who gets the First Blood. Or not First Blood, who gets Warlord Kill, which will be the defining, like, who gets victory probably for this game. But that's how this game goes. You don't hear Aaron Delph talking because he had to leave, so I'm just doing the post-turn report, and we'll return to his turn when we get back. So here's one last look at the battlefield. Here you go. And there you go. So again, before I end this, granted we've still got about half the turns over now. As soon as he's done, that'll be the end of turn 3, moving on to turn 4. We are playing variable game length as a reminder, so the game could go on to turn 7, but I don't think it'll last that long. If you guys think we could improve on anything, let us know, because this is our first battle report that we filmed because you guys requested it. So just tell us anything you guys think we should do better, or any advice in the future, or anything you guys want to see. I play Chaos. I don't have all the units, but I have a variety of different units. Tell me maybe what you want me to play, and I'll be able to play that. I also collect Tau, but my Tau is very small, and my Orcs are pretty small as well, but though I do collect those. I can give you guys a list of what I have, and you guys can request that kind of battle. Aaron Delph collects Necrons, Space Marines, Imperial Guard, so any of those he can play free as well. So after this battle, if you want us to do more, that's great. If you do want us to do more, request the races that you want us to play out of those 6, and we'll be more than happy to do it. But just remember, if you do request it, I have a lot more Chaos than I do with the other 2, and he has a lot more Imperium than the other 2. So there you go. And again, let us know. We're going to be back to you when Aaron Delph comes onto his turn 3.
Alright everybody, we are back. Okay, so starting off in the movement phase, my Storm Raven took a trip into the middle of where the action's going on, and basically everything focused fire on the Berserkers. Now, one thing I do have to say right now, this game is really not going in XLPUDDing's favor, for one reason. He didn't charge his Rhino into Papa Smurf. Had he done that, we have run scenario after scenario after scenario, wasting precious time of our lives wondering at what would have been different had he just done what has never been able to be done before. Well, depending on how many... I don't know. Has there ever been a previous...
I have no idea.
I've never...
In 7th edition, you never charged anything. So.
Yeah, and we started off technically in 7th edition. We actually started off with the rules for
Fourth.
an old... Yeah, in 4th edition. But we were teaching ourselves, and it was fragging hard. But I don't think you could charge with a vehicle. But
or no one ever did.
yeah. And so if he had charged his Rhino and tied up Papa Smurf then would not have closed in and during the shooting phase killed 4 of his berserkers, thus allowing Shrike's Vanguard, this guy right here who had a melt-a-bomb, he tossed it into Karn. And because his invulnerable save didn't absorb it, it did D6 wounds. And 3 of those, I rolled a 3 on that. It brought him down to 1 wound, and then one of my pistols shot him in the face, killing Karn. And after Karn was dead, I easily las cannoned to death his berserkers because they were the few targets left over, and and then the one last cannon shot I diverted at his Terminators missed completely. My snipers missed completely. And all around, this once again, nothing happened. Just sat there fighting each other and nobody died. So, and they are just over there sitting pretty, all's cultists. And this thing's over here staring at those scouts, licking its chops, wondering when it's going to get another shot at something that actually matters. And yeah, that's pretty much the conclusion of this turn. And we've both made a lot of mistakes adjusting to this because, honestly, in 7th edition we had it down really pat. The only thing we made mistakes with sometimes was the psychic phase.
Forgetting it completely.
Forgetting the psychic phase completely a lot. And this time we were pretty good about remembering the psychic phase. In 8th edition, that's the one thing we've got down. I mean, he forgot it once last game, and I forgot it once last game, I think. But this particular game, we never forgot it once. And we've been doing pretty freaking awesome. Though, one of his primary objectives was to completely, as he probably mentioned, get rid of my smiting ability, because he got sick and tired of that, which I found hilarious. When he didn't charge Papa Smurf, who was over here at the time.
But you admitted that is the better idea.
Yes. The smite, mortal wounds, just ignoring any of your saves at all. I mean, Karn, with a 4+ invuln save, at least it's 50-50. Smite being able to ignore that, I see how you'd be intimidated and want to get that completely off of the fields. So, long story short, yeah, I completely understand why you went the way you did. But in any case, this is how this turn's ending up. He still doesn't have anything that has really touched my flyer. It's still got 12 wounds left, though he has a combi melt in this Terminator squad. So the plan is probably to hit my Storm Raven with it and then charge Papa Smurf. And he might fall back with those Obliterators, he might not. It all depends. However, if he does charge Papa Smurf, Shrike is just going to have a heyday charging. Now, here is a question, people. I don't know with surety. Neither Pudding nor I have been able to answer this with surety. But in the rules, it states that you can fire pistols in the melee phase, but they're a bit fuzzy. So we don't know for sure if those not involved in melee combat can fire into melee combat. It was kind of with their pistols.
We know they can't if they don't.
What?
We know they can't fire if they're not using pistols. But can a group that is not in the melee combat fire its pistols, because it's a pistol, into the combat?
Right. So that's our current question of the day, and we did a coin toss to see if it would technically be allowed for our house rules until they FAQ it or we find out for sure. And for now, we're saying that pistol, like when he charges Papa Smurf and has him tied up in melee combat, Shrike's squad's going to be able to jump over, and even though they're not in the combat, they're going to be able to fire their pistols into the Terminators during the shooting phase. That's how we're running it. However, nothing else. I mean, I can't toss in my melt-a-bomb. I won't be able to do other things like that.
Same rules as pistols, essentially.
Yeah. It's just pistols only. So that's currently how we're rolling with things. And that's a question that we're going to need answered at some point. But in any case, I'm absolutely loving 8th edition so far. It's a lot of fun.
It's looking grim for chaos. But we're going to play it out and see if there's a possibility.
So from this side of the table to that side of the table, I dominated him. From this side to this side, it's a bit more even, but I'm still beating him. So,
And Papa Smurf is just so hard to remove.
yeah, he hasn't put a single wound on a Smurf so far, but a lot of that has been... I mean, Cypher got sacrificed to keep Smurf there because he was just a little bit closer than Papa Smurf. So he poured the shots into Cypher and got rid of him, and he had to pour 2 squads worth of fire into Cypher to get rid of him. And then he was finally able to see Papa Smurf, but that's when he diverted and killed Voldus and the rest of my Terminators, which completely, like, I was like, what? I thought you wanted Papa Smurf dead, but now Papa Smurf is just going to go around the table killing off everything else.
Even if I get the charge off on Papa Smurf, the Gilliman, Corpse God, son of, whatever you want to call him, he has a 3 invuln.
Yeah, so it's extremely unlikely you're going to do crap to him unless you can do mortal wounds, which, since your sorcerer blew himself up with an overcharged plasma pistol, ain't gonna happen. Well, in any case, that's pretty much the culmination of what this is turn 3?
Yeah, I'm gonna go into my turn 4.
Alright, so we will see you again at the end of turn 4. Anything else to add, Pudding?
I hope I can kill stuff.
We will see. Alright, folks. We'll see you then. Toodles.
Bye. Hello, everybody. XLPUDDing. My turn 4, top of turn 4. In the movement phase, I didn't do a whole lot. I moved the Forge Fiend, or didn't move the Forge Fiend. He's not there all game. Always had something to shoot at so far. Moved the Cultist on the move with the Dark Apostle. And I moved the Terminators from over there to over here fighting Gilliman. Oh, and then I fell back with my Obliterators from over there. So they fell back. And in the shooting phase, this Forge Fiend took all of his 8 shots into those scouts and managed to pick 1 off. And all of these cultists shot into the Vanguard squad and picked 1 off. So then the Terminators shot at Gilliman, and they picked 2 wounds off in the shooting phase. He overwatched, nothing hit, and we went into the fight phase. And he only has 2 wounds remaining on his first life.
Yeah,
so
I got some seriously cruddy rolls there.
So yeah, that went well for me and bad for him for once. So he is at 2 wounds now before he has to roll on a 4+. Gilliman will come back with D6 wounds remaining, and he has to be as close as he can to his previous position, but cannot be within an inch of an enemy. So that's where he'll end up if I manage to kill him. And Ben's turn, or if he manages to kill me. In his returning assault phase, he managed to hit with all 6, but my champion ate up 4 of the Emperor's Sword blows.
Yeah, he rolled 5 5s.
Yep. And then, no, I rolled 4 5s.
4 5s.
And then felled 2. So, because they have 2 wounds each now, which is really good. Because that would have been 2 Terminators gone instead of 1. So, that was my assault phase. I'm still not looking good, but with Gilliman dead, almost dead, hopefully. Maybe he'll fill his role. Maybe not, who knows. But if he does, then I'll be in better shape than what I currently am. So, yeah, that's my plan so far. We've got 1 more turn remaining to see what we can do, and we'll go from there. So, we'll return on Arendel's turn 4. See you guys later.
Tables. Greetings, everyone. This is Arndel. So the game is indeed officially over.
I conceded.
Yeah, XLPUDDing conceded when Gilliman finished thrashing off the Terminators on him. Also, XLPUDDing realized that every time he failed a wound on one of those sword blows, he failed 2. Each one did 2 wounds, so each one was taking out a Terminator. So he realized that, and then when Gilliman was on the other backswing, he killed 2 more. Those Vanguard over there did absolutely nothing in both shooting and melee. So they didn't help Gilliman out at all. He finished those Terminators off all by himself. Over there, my tactical Marines did successfully re-engage the Obliterators without taking any casualties, but Shrike came in and finished off all of the last 2 Obliterators. So, and then over here during the shooting phase, my Storm Raven killed 4 more of the cultists, and I whined about that because I wanted to kill a lot more. So, but overall, Gilliman is extremely powerful. The fact that, I mean, the Hand of Dominion has a much higher strength, so versus things that have a lot of toughness, I guess that might be a reason to use the Hand of Dominion, but all around, the Emperor's Sword can do mortal wounds, D3 mortal wounds, and just erase things off the battlefield. So, I don't even know what to say about that. But
Reason why you won, right there, Gilliman.
Yep. Gilliman just walked all over the place and walked all over whatever got in his way. And I actually forgot to fire with both groups of snipers in my last turn. And there was one other... and I forgot to fire with my Devastators. So I made all kinds of mistakes in that last turn.
Not that it matters.
Not that it mattered. But in any case, we'll go ahead and be back in a moment to do a final breakdown of this game. All right. Thanks, everybody. Toodles.
Bye.
Greetings, everyone. So, for a final game wrap-up, at least for my side, I'm doing the MVPs of the game. So, first up is, without a doubt, Gilliman himself, who, in both games, whenever he got into melee, just started dominating, with the exception of when those Terminators managed to stand up for him complete turn with 4 freaking invulnerable saves. And I was going to put the Devastators as my second MVP, but XLPUDDing pointed out that tactical squad is the only reason why those Devastators even got into the fight, keeping his Obliterators tied down, making sure that they couldn't contribute to helping to keep not only my Devastators distracted, but whittle them down. So at that point, I did agree that Mute and his squad of tacticals were the second MVPs of the game. And the Devastators, coming in third, they, of course, wiped out 2 Hellbrutes off of the table, just completely annihilating them and basically helping me to push forward with the game without having to worry about that strong melee, not to mention multi-melta and las cannon. Alright, coming up next we got Voldus and the Terminator squad of Grey Knights, who did enough smites to easily carry the game, not to mention that Sorcerer was targeting them when he attempted to take down the... what do you call it? Yeah, when he attempted to shoot them with the overcharged pistol, which exploded, which in an indirect kind of way gives the score of his kill to them. And then following up, Storm Raven did help carry its weight. It never managed to really score any good hits with any of its heavy weapons, so I wasn't terribly impressed with it this game. At least last game it crashed into some Berserkers and killed them. So, but... following up with that, we have Chapter Master Shrike and his Vanguard squad, who at the very end, though the Vanguard did get a lot of pistol shots in, they made a difference there. Shrike himself finally made a difference when he engaged the Obliterators in close combats, and he made a huge difference there. But in any case, those are my MVPs of the game. And both XLPUDDing and I do agree that Gilliman is seriously powerful, and we're wondering what can truly stand up to him besides the Lord of Skulls. Yeah, because James did some death battles with them, and while the Lord of Skulls did win every single time, it was almost always a really close call.
Yeah, you get the Lord of Skulls down to about half, 14 wounds out of 28 before you kill Gilliman.
Yeah, so every single time it was, if Gilliman had had support, he would have been able to do a lot more.
Which, point value comparison, he would have more.
Yes.
Gilliman's like 350, Lord of Skulls with the weapon configuration I gave him was about 700 and something, because he's 400 base, plus then you have to pay for the weapons.
One thing I would like to go ahead and comment before ending this video is about the Dark Apostles. I truly believe that these guys need to, one, be more powerful. Two, they need to have essentially more characters. Like, where is Erebus? Where is, what's the name of Anthony Reynolds' Dark Apostle?
Murdoch.
Yeah. I mean, where are all these really awesome named characters? I would really like to know, because Games Workshop, I mean, all that is more opportunity for profit, because I don't know where all these named characters are that the Chaos really, really needs. But I'm not even a huge Chaos fan, and I acknowledge that there's a lot of things missing here.
Well, here's my thoughts on playing Chaos / Assault Armies / Granted, I've heard the orcs are overpowered. You can't kill them. They don't run away because their leadership is equal to the number of mob boys they have. But if you're playing an assault army, I think even if you were playing an assault version of Space Marines, like maybe a Dark Templars chapter or something that likes to get into melee, I mean, heck, your Vanguard squad suffered what my whole army suffered. Getting whittled down before you can get in.
Yes.
It's harder to play an assault army, and it takes more tactics to play an assault army than just setting up a gun line. Because I had to, do so many things, I'm remembering to form your guys a certain way to make it so people can't charge into you, or assaulting with a rhino, or making so line of sight's cut off, or, because you can lose models that cost you a lot of points before they even do anything.
Yeah, and it was a good thing that half of my Vanguard squad was nothing but chainswords and bolt pistols to absorb a lot of wounds, because while they only took one volley from this guy right here, they took so many volleys from the cultists, and it whittled them down, bit by bit. I mean, those cultists, I think, did actually pay for themselves, because a single Vanguard, I think, is basically, even in its most basic form, about half the points. About 25 points, I do believe. I'll have to recheck the math on that. But
they're 5 points each.
Yeah, and the cultists being 5 points each. Altogether, yeah, I seriously do believe the cultists paid for themselves in whittling down that Vanguard squad.
Yeah, but everyone leaves the cultists alone.
True. Though my Storm Raven, every time it was in range, was pumping its Hurricane Bolters into them, trying to whittle them down.
But in regards to points that I paid for that were useless points, essentially, you had the Possessed squad, who did absolutely nothing. You had the 2 Hell Brutes. The 1 Hell Brute got a couple shots off, but the Powerfist Multi-Melter one did nothing.
I think it actually did get 1 shot off and only vaporized a single Marine.
The Oblits were a lot of points, and they got tied up super easy.
Yep. That's one of the reasons why that tactical squad over there, led by Mute, was the second MVP of the game. Those Obliterators were placed brilliantly, were in a position to not only hold a tactical point, but deny my Devastators their own place up there. And that tactical squad kept them tied down for so long, rendering them null and useless.
Sorcerers are used for Chaos players are used to being better than normal Psychers. But in this edition, they can't even deny 2 spells. They can cast 2 and deny 1. So that was a change. So I could not keep up with him in his Psychic phase. And plus, leading to his Psychers, just being able to smite Khorne Berserkers, who are supposed to be immune to Psychic powers in some way, or resistant.
Yeah, resistant.
Got blown away by it, because they have no rules right now that say anything about Psychic. So...
yeah, so all around, Chaos got curb stomped pretty badly. I mean, they did hold their own in a little bit better with this shorter span of the table, but because I was able to put up so much of my shooting on this concentrated area, due to the fact that I split my scouts into combat squads, he had to deploy first. I got to see where the bulk of his army was going.
But your scouts didn't do anything, really.
True, but one of them was holding a point and whatnot. I'm not saying it was terribly valuable of them, but the fact that I got to deploy them separately allowed me to essentially make it so you had to deploy more first. And because I had Shrike in Deep Strike,
I deployed first. I finished deploying first.
Sorry, yeah. I had Shrike in Deep Strike, I had his Vanguard in Deep Strike, I had the Justicare and his Terminator Squad in Deep Strike, and finally Voldus in Deep Strike, I was able to push you into the army that you were deploying onto the table to deploy before me completely, so I was able to set up my most valuable pieces in an area where they were able to get shots off. I made the stupid mistake of setting my Gravity Devastator squad in the open, not thinking that you were going to be able to do so much damage to them because you were mostly a shooting army. So that was a stupid mistake on my part. I should have placed them behind that wall there. That way they were safer if I was going to be doing that. But in any case, mistakes were made on both sides. And truth be told, huge learning experience.
Gun armies are going to be happy in this edition.
Oh yeah, gun armies are going to be
just sit up
happy.
and fire.
However, rhinos are going to be playing a bigger role. They're not so easily popped. And if you get a melee army and pack it full of your troops and whatnot, keep them protected on their way in, I think that is going to make a much bigger difference. So we're just going to have to see. In our next game, we've already got plans, which we'll reveal in the future. But in any case, are there any last comments you'd like to put in?
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks everyone very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this battle report. And if you have any comments, feedback, or anything to say, please leave it in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, please let us know why. And if you are new to the channel and genuinely enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing. And as well, I'll put a link down in the description to XLPUDDing's channel. He has a few different kind of things going on, but he's slowly expanding too. And in any case, we hope to see you in the future. All right, toodles.